So last night, I ended up at Marion Shopping Centre, and for those who don't live in Adelaide, it's just a large complex full of different types of shops. And I was going to pick something up, and I walked past this girl sitting on a couch in the middle of the centre, and it was literally just me walking past and then getting something and then coming back the same way to leave. And I mean, there was people everywhere, but she really stood out because she reminded me of an old version of myself, because she was just emanating this frequency of just pure loneliness. Even though there was people everywhere, she, like, if I went up to her and spoke to her and said, like, you feel the loneliest you've ever felt, she would have just like burst out in tears. And so she was by herself on the way past the first time, and then when I've come back, it looked like her mother and sister were with her, and she was just leaning into her mum. But it was, I could just like, I can read people so quickly now that it's like, even though it was like 5 seconds walking past and then 5 seconds the other way, it's like I could have I could have sat next to her and told her a life story. But yeah, and like she was next to her mum, like leaning into her mum, and it was like her mum wasn't even present to realize what her daughter was like experiencing in that moment, because she was experiencing her own stuff, and same with her brother. But it just, it really reminded me many times throughout my life where I've experienced that loneliness. And at the time, I thought it was because I was so focused on the external, wanting the external to fill a void, which is why there's so many people that are addicted to TikTok and, YouTube shorts and all of this really fast paced stuff for it's usually, there's duality and everything, but the big thing is, like, for people in her situation, like, she would have just been scrolling non-stop just to numb herself, to not feel the depth because she was actually sitting fully in her emotional body, but I could tell that she didn't understand what she was feeling, because she was thinking about what she was feeling instead of just allowing herself to just sit in the feeling without the link between the mind and the emotions, because that's where you can, like, this, I have such a hard time because there's so much garbage out there with psychology and stuff, and it's, people buying into other people's stories, same as mainstream medicine and everything. When you're buying into someone else's story, then you're taking on that as your own instead of, analysing. And one of the biggest things is most people don't even understand how to process and integrate life lessons and realise what they're actually meant to be learning in that moment. What's their life reflecting back to them, which was something that I had to learn to develop myself. And that's probably one of the hardest things for me to witness, because I see so many people like it. And that's it's partly why I make some of the videos that I make, is just to at least plant seeds for people to spend some time with themselves and get to know and understand themselves, and do away with the distractions, like that. If you struggle to just sit with yourself, you're not going to get to know yourself. Like, if you constantly need radio or TV or the internet or something on all the time, like, it's amazing. Even mum, like, she'll turn the TV off and turn the radio on, or vice versa, and it's like, or then on the phone, and it's like, when does she have time to just be with herself in her own energy and get to know herself? But we've all got free will, we can choose as we wish. And I see so many people doing the same thing. Like, it's one of the most prominent patterns in the human experience, is that seeking external for the internal, which is, it's why I give people a hard time a lot of the time, because if you build yourself up on an external validation, you're that external validation can be taken away, and then then that crumbles, and then you've got to rebuild from scratch. And it's like when you see celebrities have their fall from grace, it's because they've built their identity around people pleasing. And funnily enough, like with the handpan, that's what a lot of artists have taught me, is they end up with a lot of issues physically, especially the physical really does reflect a lot of the internal, but a lot of the physical issues that a lot of trying to find the right word, people who have a lot of attention on them, I guess would be the best way to describe them. They're always concerning themselves about how they're going to be perceived, and it doesn't matter how people are going to perceive you anyway, because everyone's looking through their own filters and their own lenses at everything they experience. So say someone's in complete victim consciousness, they're going to think everything that comes towards them is an attack on them, even though it might be nothing to do with them. Like someone might be just sharing something, or they might see or hear something or whatever, and they'll just take it personally, like it's an attack on them. But that's because they're completely lost. They don't know themselves at all, because victim consciousness is so easy. And yeah, it's like that's a really deep-seated default pattern in a lot of people, because it's a generational pattern, generational and societal pattern and program. And there's so many layers to that. Yeah, and even with these videos, like it's finding that line of how much to share into one thing. But yeah, that girl, like it's like I said, it reminded me, and that's where I was going with this. And so many people get caught up with the whole like men and women have different things. It's if you strip away the physical body, you're just a soul having a human experience, and patterns and cycles and all of that stuff. It's no different for what genitals are attached to your body or not attached, and that's why a lot of people are having the issues they're having now, and they're literally mutilating their body to change their body, because they think that's going to fix something. And I guarantee in a few years to 10, 20, 50, 100 years, however long it takes, for that chunk of society to realise they've made massive mistakes. And once you mutilate the body by cutting off things like genitals, and you can't go back. And a lot of them would probably realise that, but then would be too afraid to come out and say, like, I was wrong about myself, I shouldn't have done what I did. Because once again, so many people are so concerned about adversity and just speaking whatever their truth is. And yeah, it's like that, being able to be completely real and raw and authentic with yourself is what's going to free yourself. You don't even have to share it with anyone. Something that really, funnily enough, I used to hate public speaking, and I was, because I was always, it was never really, sometimes it was at the forefront, but there was always that distortion about how people would perceive me, or, what I was doing, what I was saying, or whatever, and, wanting to be as good as I could be, which, has been phenomenal for me to get the handpan now with where I'm at within myself, and, exploring myself and my own energy, and all of the things that I'm doing now, that I'm doing it in, like, I know if this was me sitting here doing this in a past version of myself, like, I would be so different in the way I would be, I would be learning how to play it instead of just experimenting with it, and, not feeling like I have to be at a certain point, and setting expectations, and, setting goals that, I have to achieve something with it, that it's like I'm just allowing it to just naturally flow and unfold as it does. And even this, like, just touching it, it's it just reminded me of, like, when you're when you're having a connection, it's kind of like the video, like what some people would be getting. It's like, especially if they're feeling that loneliness feeling, just having someone speaking, me speaking my authentic truth will bring comfort to some people, especially people who are too afraid to publicly, share whatever their truth is about whatever. Just that frequency of self authenticity within myself would be comforting to those who haven't yet found that for themselves within themselves. And there's so many times that I question, like, do I make videos? Do I stop making videos? But then there's always something that just, reminds me, like seeing that girl last night, how many times I've been at that point before I realised how to consciously create my human experience, how to isolate frequencies and patterns and cycles and just everything that I do now, and reprogram the mind, like consciously reprogram the mind. And some people refer to like the subconscious or the unconscious or whatever. It's like they're all just patterns, patterns and labels, and that's why I really dislike labels, because there's so many distortions within labels and so much codependency within labels too. And it's, like it just reminded me of that's where I was going before. It's like me sitting here with the handpan. It's no different than connecting with someone physically, like, and just being fully present with each other in the moment, where sometimes you speak, sometimes you don't, like, and you can always tell when you can always tell a lot when people can't handle silence. And it's funny because I was saying about that before, but a lot of people, if you're in the physical presence of somebody else, whether they can handle moments of silence or not, really, I mean, the biggest thing is it usually is a massive sign that someone's completely stuck in their head and overthinking and drowning within their thoughts. And especially if they've got on that spiral, like especially a particular spiral where they're spiraling into a particular thought pattern and they want to try and get out of it, they will often use distractions, and one of those forms of distractions is connecting and communicating with people. And it's funny because, like, even in this video, like, I know there's so many different paths. It's like, the different tones of the handpan. There's so many different paths that I could take just this video alone. And it's, like, if you're struggling with that loneliness, one of the best things to do is really look and watch your own, like, try and carve out some time for yourself where you don't have to worry about time. Like, I've got half an hour to do this. Like, don't even waste your time if you're going to do that. You need to create some time for yourself to just sit there and observe your thoughts. Like, what are you thinking? And then also observe your emotional body, and then also your physical body. And you'll start to see where you can, like, it's using different senses. Like, if you think about, like, your eyes as, think about your soul. So, like, say the handpan cover is my soul, then there's the physical body, and then say the handpan is my emotions. It's like cords, like my physical body's got a cord, and then there's a cord from the handpan, which is my emotions, to my soul. they're all just different sensory inputs, going back and forwards. It's not just one way, it always goes both ways. And the more you can isolate each thing, which is why, I love float tanks, especially a sauna and then a float tank, which the float tank, or the sauna before the float tank. Come on, out. The sauna first really heat amplifies what's already there. It's like money and all of these different things, like so many things are amplifiers, but it really helps you to identify like where your focus is and where your thought process is, because it's like it turns up the volume on your thoughts the longer you're in a sauna. But then it also shows you how much you're connected or disconnected to the body as well, like how much feedback are you getting from the body, but also how much are you controlling the body too. Because like some of the saunas I've had, like I remember there was one in particular that I'm remembering now, that it was a 45-minute sauna, and I reckon I hit like 25 minutes, and I was like, I'm so done, I'm so ready to get out. And it was like, I didn't think I could go any further, but that's the problem. I knew that I was thinking, and I'm like, no, my soul will force my body to move and open the door that's, as far away as the camera, like, I could just about kick it from where I'm sitting in the sauna. And I'm like, no, I know my soul will take over and force that door open if I'm going to overheat or pass out or whatever. And so I just sat there and I surrendered to the experience and just sat in it. And it was so overwhelming, the want to open the door, because I was so uncomfortable. But then all of a sudden, it's like, as soon as I had that breakthrough of just sitting in it, and it's like it reached its boiling point, and then I broke through it, that then it was like, oh wow, I feel like I could sit here forever, like. And then I hit the 45-minute mark, and it was a piece of cake after that. And same with extended fasting. Certain times, and every like, we're always different in any moment. So it's like, my longest fast has previously been 8 or 9 days, I think. And once again, I think because it's irrelevant, it's in the past. Even right now, like say I'd done 100 8-day fasts, every single one of them would look different, because I'd be integrating and processing different things. My vibration would be different. The frequencies that I was carrying in those moments would be different. I'd be having different physical human experiences. My body would be in different shape. So many different variables that even me within myself, I could never do the same experience. Like, they're always different, let alone, you're comparing someone else. Like, that's why I'm always saying, don't compare yourself to anyone, because it's pointless. You're only yourself, and everyone else is just themselves on their own human experience journey. And that's why I've made plenty of videos talking about like seeking discomfort, because within the discomfort you realize that it's just your perception. And in those moments of like, float tank saunas or fasting, where it's that uncomfortableness and you're finding your limits. Like even last week when I was doing roofing, and I reckon it was maybe 4 hours in the first day that the feedback I was getting from my body was had enough. I was throwing tiles off a roof and all sorts of stuff, and yeah, I was listening to it, I was aware of it, but I also knew myself well enough, and I knew, from the things that I've experienced within my human experience, I know how much I can push it myself, my body, all of it. And I was like, I know I will know when I need to tap out, it's just a want to tap out because it's uncomfortable, because I haven't used these muscles this intensely. Like, it was really heavy physical work, and as well trying to maintain my balance while on the roof and not fall off the roof when I was throwing tiles and stuff. And that was another really amazing experience, and perfect for me just before getting this too. Like, the timing of it was all incredible, and even last night, the timing of seeing that girl, and having not made a video for a little bit, and then deciding to make another video, and I haven't actually used the hand pan that much, but all of the time that I've spent with it, I've connected deeper and deeper with it, and yeah, and that's another thing I forgot to touch on as well. It's something that I experience, with so many different people, is people can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. So, like, if your parents are completely emotionally shut down, then you can only connect to them as deeply as they're willing to see within themselves, because otherwise they'll reach a point and they'll just shut down. And it's same with other connections, work, friends, romantic, whatever labels you want to put on the different types of connections. Like, and it's something I had to learn as well within myself, because I can just meet someone and I can just pick up like I can start at their maximum depth instantly. Like, I've got so comfortable within myself that I can just be completely wide open and all of myself with someone that I've literally just met. And it's because I can look past all of the humanness and just go directly for the soul part, for however much they've connected to their soul. But the problem with that is, like, for me, like, this is my struggle, is I'm trying to think how I can, because I know a lot of people are really physical. So say the hand pan is as much of myself that I've connected with myself, and say I meet someone and they've connected like this much with themselves, I can connect to them as much as I've connected to myself, but they'll only perceive me connecting that much because that's all they've explored within themselves. And so when I go past that, so it's like I can very quickly find that edge and then push them past that edge, either a little bit or a lot. And it depends on the person, on how willing they are to see that part of themselves that they haven't explored yet. And it's really funny because it's not actually any different from someone I've just met or someone that I've spoken to a lot. As soon as you reach that edge, everybody gets the same. Like, they, the initial thing is to want to like run and hide and shrink, and like, oh my God, this person could see too much of me. Like, I haven't even seen that part of me. Like, what's he gonna see? And it's really interesting to see. Like, and occasionally I will connect with people who have obviously craved it enough to sit in that discomfort long enough to explore more of that part of themselves that has come up that they haven't explored yet. And like, they're really truly incredible moments and experiences, and this can be like within a 5-minute span or hours or weeks or whatever. But there's like, when you're at the point where you've really not explored yourself much, you, external mirror wise, you can connect to that depth with so many people, because a lot of people are at that, like, say it's a stream of consciousness or a vibration or however you want to see it. So it's like, that's the level of bandwidth, like the gap here, like that's how much you can connect to them on that stream. But then as soon as you start stretching it, it's like most people are here, but then as soon as you get further out of that, there's less and less and less and less and less people that have explored that depth within themselves, that then becomes more and more challenging to find people who are capable of those different depths, which then you know, for me, I've had to constantly turn that back into myself and find that for myself, within myself. I know that'll make sense to some people, and some people that won't make any sense, but that's anytime I get that sense of loneliness, or and it's not like, loneliness isn't even the right word. It's people who can connect to you on that vibration, in that timeline, in that moment. Because like when I was walking through Marion yesterday, I was seeing so many people on so many different timelines, and you know, I'm so aware of seeing timelines now that I don't even know how to describe unless you could see that. And it's like I can see where people do and don't connect, or like have near misses where they nearly connect but they don't, because they make a choice that then changes them on a different trajectory, and they no longer need to connect to that person for that experience, because they've already had the experience internally and shifted something in it. Like, yeah, it's it's funny because people often say to me, like, I do get quite a few people that say to me, like, oh, I wish I was where you're at. And it's like, you get no idea what you're wishing for. Like, the things that I see, like, I had to train myself to be able to see it and witness it without carrying it too much for myself. There are occasionally sometimes that I do unintentionally carry other people's burdens, but it's something that I've had to learn not to, because if I'm carrying other people's burdens, they're not learning what they're meant to be learning, and I'm not learning what I'm meant to be learning, which in that moment, that is what I'm meant to be learning if I'm doing it. And I do really love the paradox of the human experience. And, you know, even though like the most challenging times are the most rewarding in ways, because they offer the most room for expansion within yourself, because that's when you really get to know different aspects and different depths within yourself, about yourself. And yeah, like another experience I had, I went down the beach the other night. I got my dinner and went down the beach, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to sit down the beach. And there, I rocked up, and there was just another old guy that was sitting in his car and listening to like some really old music, and it was like super sad, you know, what people would label as super sad music. And I could just feel like, you know, he was parked down the other end of the car park, but I could just feel that loneliness and that sadness within him that he was sitting in. And I don't know whether he was a widow or not, but it felt to me like he was a widow, and he was still craving the presence of whoever he had lost, you know, whether it was his partner or someone, you know, could have been mother or father or anyone. But I chose not to read into it, because I'm like, that's his experience, and I got what I needed to see, like, from the surface, which is funny because I just realised, like, that's way deeper than a lot of people's surface. But then I was sitting there having my dinner, and then it dawned on me, and it's like having someone to share, even just to share that, you know, company in the physical presence would have been like, that's what I would have been craving at that moment. And also like someone to share and mirror processing and integration of whatever I'm integrating and processing. And it was like, I love the way that my human experience is, but it's like there are those occasional moments where it's like someone that can connect to that depth to connect with would be just phenomenal. Um, and I said to someone, I'm like, in a message, I'm like, it's almost like I'm missing something that I haven't even experienced yet. Like I could feel what it would be like to have someone to connect to on that depth and share those moments in the way that I experience it, and and even not the same. Like it doesn't even have to be the same. Like I could even just show how I was experiencing it, and then they share what they were experiencing in that moment when we were sharing the moment, and seeing what differences there were in the way that we were perceiving what we were experiencing, which was the same. And I know that I've probably just lost a whole lot of people that are just like, the fuck is he even on about? But I know that there'll be like, even if there's just one person that's like, I know exactly what he's talking about. Like that's, for me, it's like I'd rather reach one person than reach the masses, which is why I make the videos that I make. And it was actually quite amusing because I did actually say to my friend as well, I was like, it's pretty crazy that the way that I connect to my handpan is probably deeper than a lot of people's relationships. And I can't even remember what he said now, but I was like, it's kind of crazy, but it's, almost sad at the same time that, I can connect to what some people would look at as, just a chunk of metal. Because for me, it's not. Like, there's part of the reason I bought this particular handpan was because I could feel the energy of the person who created it, that it wasn't just created for money. Like, they put a lot of love and passion for handpans into making the handpan, which is why hey, go on your bed. Which is why I was so put off by a lot of different handpans that I came across, because I could just feel they were just purely made for money, and that frequency does not resonate with me at all. So it's like, some people hear the word frequency and they think like listening to a particular thing and hooking it up to like a machine that tells you like what tone it is, and like there's so many different frequencies that aren't yet identified with science and technology and all of that stuff. Like that stuff is so far behind the soul. Like the things that we can tune into on a soul level is so much more than most people can perceive. And if you base your human experience as well on the technology and all of that stuff, like that's as advanced as we are, it's like you're limiting yourself so much, because there's so many things that I'm like, can someone hurry up and get this technology where I need it, where I want it to be, and so that then I can create some other stuff. Otherwise I've got to create it myself, which I don't actually have interest in. Wait, sit down. Look, that's enough. Yeah, and so for me with the handpan, like all I've been doing is, and like I said earlier, I haven't been trying to play specific tunes or anything. I've literally just been exploring, like even just the way that, like from fingers to like hands, and just really feeling each one individually, but then also like there's so many different, like you can feel when you've got different tones at the same time, or like either at the same time or slightly off, you can feel that it changes so much. And so I've really just been trying to just explore like the whole handpan, and not even just like the in between, like there's so many different variations, like in these areas that, you know, a lot of people probably don't even play. I'm sure that some people do, but yeah, so it's like there's so much surface area to explore. But even that, like when I think I said in the first video that I didn't really know what I wanted, because I didn't know what I was going to want besides just the energy of this being right. But even now, it's like, having only had it a few days, I'm already building a picture of what I want in a future handpan. Like some of the tones, it's like there's like, and I'm sure that if I looked up, these would all be like specific, you know, it's really weird for me to say like sound frequencies, because I perceive them as, you know, so much more than just like numbers on a digital readout or whatever. It's like there's, yeah, I'd really love to connect with a handpan maker and create something so unique. That's a different part of a different journey. But like even within, you know, the standard, like if I go full 3D for a moment, like just the standard notes, I could already pick a custom handpan. I wouldn't know what to ask for specifically, but you know, if they had like sounds of each standard thing and had like, you know, an audio file for each note, I'd be able to go like, I want that. Like I'd be able to create a handpan like that now. But yeah. And even, you know, even just like things like basic things like this. Anyway, I hope that video helped, and I will be back another time.